Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm VelvettB, and thanks for joining me today on this speed build. So this is just a little bit something different. So I recently ran a shell challenge, and it was called the Water Shell Challenge. So the whole idea of that, you can see the shell going in there, it was that you needed to be inspired by water. And there's a little twist. There is like a little blue patch inside the house, and that needs to be something watery. So you need to cover that blue patch in the house with something watery. So that that was just like that, a little tricky factor added into the build. And anyway, I was inspired. Long story short, by by that swampy, leafy water. So I was kind of like, you know what? I was just thinking about the different types of water in the game, and I sort of landed on that sort of swampy kind of water, and I was like, you know what, maybe I could build like this house for a swamp witch. And then I sort of thought about it a little bit more, and I kind of developed the story a little bit. So there's a lovely young lady called Sage, and she inherited this house. So it was owned by her famous swamp witch, a great aunt, Agatha. And so she's inherited this rundown, swampy, ruined kind of house. She doesn't have much in the way of money. Everything that she had, she's put into like cleaning supplies and bits and pieces. Everything else is kind of found items or op shop items, little or things that she's kind of repurposed from nature or made herself. So this is kind of the whole idea behind the house. So it is kind of like a broke down kind of swamp house that was owned by a swamp witch, and she's kind of taking it over and building this trying to rebuild and bring this house back to life. It is sort of overrun by the swamp, and the walls are kind of half falling down. There's some holes in the roof, and all that sort of thing. So that was kind of the story behind it. Like the downstairs area is pretty it's a little bit unlivable-ish, but we've got this sort of like a kitchen and sort of little dining area and stuff down there. And the upstairs area is definitely a lot more livable as far as that goes, and it is a functioning house. It is off the grid, so there's no power in it, and I did add some lot traits as well. So I skipped over the landscaping because it was just me going through sort of like debug and bits and pieces and trying to find like anything swampy, and I've added in like crocodiles and mosquitoes and fireflies and dragonflies and bits and pieces around there. So there's like all sorts of things going on in the water, which is really cute. And you can see here I'm just adding in the ivy up the wall. So I'm actually using the ivy from the vampire packs for the most part. I used a little bit of the cottage living ivy as well, but for the most part the vampire pack ivy was just a little bit easier to work with because of the shape of it, and I could get that sort of running up the walls a little bit. Now the exterior color changed about 3 times. So I started sort of with, or 4 times actually. I started with the jungle living brick, and then I moved to the werewolves shaley kind of shingly exterior, and then I moved to the love struck worn sort of plaster, and then I moved to something else off camera. Just as I was taking photo, I was just like, I don't like this, I'm going to change it back. So I ended up going back to the werewolf shingly type of thing, but in a different color. So I'm just doing like the little backyard area, which is like the magic area with the cauldron, because obviously this is owned by a swamp witch, so we're going to have a cauldron, don't we? So the little area that I am doing with the water, so this is like the blue patch that you needed to have as a watery item, I'm actually turning this into a fishing hole. So this is going to have an inside fishing hole. So this is me just working out if it actually works, and this is me just figuring out how to make this work. So what I did is like a little the invisible fence around there. So that's from back, I don't know, but it's a little flat fencing, And so I've done that around there and just deleted the interior so that like the water's coming through, and added from debug one of the fishing hole signs. So it does actually work as a fishing hole. So it is perfectly working. I mean, he kind of fishes off in the middle of the house, but it works. So that's the main thing. And then around the fishing hole, I added from Horse Ranch the nectar, not the nectar, the prairie grass, which makes, which you can use for finding nectar. But yeah, so you got like the prairie grass going around there. So you will have like growing kind of grass in the house, which I thought was pretty cool. So as far as like the downstairs area, I didn't really, it sort of evolved. I didn't like have it in my head how it was just kind of gonna work, because we've got this big fishing hole in the middle of the downstairs. So it's kind of like, I don't really know how to build around that. So I was just kind of working it out and figuring out as I went. So because there was like a couple of chimneys in the house, I decided to add a couple of fires to the interior of the house, and then I started plumbing the depths of like the werewolves pack and what was the other pack? Can't remember, but there was like another pack that I was kind of using a lot of, like the outdoor retreat a little bit as well, and cottage living was the other pack that I was sort of mainly focused on there. So in the downstairs, this actually evolved into being like the kitchen area. So you've kind of got a fire to cook on, so you can cook things on that fire, and there's like a DIY kind of sink and a counter, so you can prepare like maybe a little bit of food and that sort of thing if you end up getting a fridge in there. There is no fridge, but there is going to be a picnic basket. So using off-the-grid items, so that's kind of how I kind of evolved the house, just like focusing on those off-the-grid items that could be used on an off-the-grid lot. It didn't feel like having solar panels and like the wind turbines and that sort of thing would be appropriate for this build, so I didn't add those, but you could always add those in if it's a build that you're interested in downloading from the gallery. And then I'm just working on the bedroom there, so I use like the tarp from the werewolves pack just to sort of create the curtains and like a little bit of shelter. There's like a laundry, little laundry tub, so you can do laundry and that sort of thing, and woodworking tables so you can make things. And then like, that hewn chess table that came with the outdoor retreat pack, so I used that as well. So I just tried to think of things that looked like they've been repurposed or built by her own hands. Is kind of the idea. And I'm just creating like the little living room in the upstairs area just off from the bedroom as well, so I ended up separating that out rather than having it open flow, and then just still getting the woodworking table in there as well. So that is how the build came together, and let's take a look how it finished up. And as you can see there, I've gone with that white sort of worn shingle look that came with the werewolf pack. I ended up doing that on the outside. I just I don't know, I just liked the way that the shingle was kind of worn. So it had like the white, but then it had like the brown in there and just like looked like it had been weathered through time. So that's what I really liked about that. And I love like the little spell casting kind of like cauldron area and stuff out the back as well. And there is like the little recharge stations for the jewelry out the back too. So I did put the jewelry stand in there from the stuff pack that came with. And yeah, so you can like make jewelry and that sort of thing. So there's some entrepreneurial things that you could do in this house to make money. So you can get it sort of fixed up and on the grid. You can sort of see the fishing hole there with all the nectar. I keep on calling the nectar grass prairie grass, and I've added in like heaps of clutter and stuff around the place. So I kind of spend a lot of time just going around and cluttering, adding like just a lived-in vibe, but things that have been scavenged or she's got from the op shop secondhand, and that sort of thing. So I feel like the kitchen's kind of come together. She's got like a little bit of furnishing, so that Horse Ranch worked really nice there. And then little bits and pieces around the place where she's tried to make it sort of homey. But you can tell she doesn't have money. You can tell she's kind of like fixed things up or put things together, and that sort of thing. So I think that worked really well. There's like little gardening bits and pieces here and there as well, because she's gonna obviously grow her own food and do all the simple living kind of thing. Yeah, and I got sort of like some clothes and, once again, just using horse ranch stuff, which is your basic kind of wooden look, sort of like slightly weathered and, that sort of thing as well. So, got a functioning bathroom. There is like a toilet bush outside. So there isn't a toilet in the house, a toilet bush outside. And yeah, that's our build. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys had fun, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.